Hello again. I had a couple people inquire about my setup. I did a couple things a little bit out of the ordinary, and some people are curious as to the layout and all the components and speakers and everything else with my system. So here we go. That's my Marantz AV8802 7.2. The .2 just meaning that it has two separate subwoofer outputs, and it measures them with the room correction separately. So that's the .2. And then obviously the .4 is height speakers for Atmos and DTX on board, or DTS-x. And then you can do a $199 firmware upgrade to the Oro. I have not done that. I may, but have not done that as yet. And then off to the right there, that little light that's blinking, that is my outboard Derby processor. That's the original one. I think I've had it about 3 or 4 years now, and I like what it does for my image on my projector in the other room. Then on the first shelf underneath that is a 2-channel B&K amplifier that powers my rear speakers in the 7.1 configuration. Underneath that is a NAD or NAD 6-channel amplifier for my ceiling speakers. And then we have 2 power conditioners and an Xbox One. Then all the way down on the bottom, that is a Rotel RMB 1095 5-channel, 200 watts per channel. That is for my center channel speaker and my 2 sets of side speakers. You'll have to, I know the wiring in here is a mess. I'm actually rearranging some things in this room. So that is a work in progress, but once I'm all done, I promise you it won't look like that anymore. Let's go out to the other room. There's the doorway to the theater over there. It's a little dark in here, so I don't know how well you can see that. But just to the right of that, I have a Samsung tablet, a pretty big, I believe it's 22 inches. And I've incorporated recently the Hue lights by Philips, and I really like them. What you can do with them is very, very flexible. The colors you can do, the different color combinations, you can set timers for lights, things like that. So I am going to go ahead and turn on the theater lights by pressing that. And then I also have the sconces in there, which I'll turn on as well. And let me turn up the brightness on those to make it a little brighter in that room so you can see this better. Here we go. See, so the lights are on in there now. So I'll hit on that. Okay, there's a few things that I think I should kind of mention as some background before I get into the nuts and bolts of all this. I've loved music since early childhood, and I'd like to thank my dad for that part of all this. He loved music as well, and I know that I get a lot of that from him. I truly believe that. I bought my first component system in 1974, so to say this has been an evolution since then would be an understatement. So just a little background. Right now what I'm listening to, this is Tidal with MQA. I have that plugged into the Oppo player underneath that, which is acting as a DAC. And then I have that analog out to that Marantz receiver that you saw. So that's what's playing right now. And then underneath that, down on the bottom here, I have a networked audio player that I use frequently too. I use this room more than for 2-channel than anything else. When you see the layout of this room, you might be a little bit surprised by that, but that's what it is. So, and then I'll go over here, continuing on the music side of things. There's my turntable. It's a linear tracking Yamaha PL3 that I bought from Worcester Vintage Audio a couple years back. I have 3 turntables and various setups right now. And I did a full review on these speakers, so I won't go into a lot of detail on them right now, but was the Aerial Acoustic 7Ts, and not to beat a dead horse, but I love those things. There's my Macintosh MC252. I have it out front here just because it's too pretty to hide in the back room. My center channel is also an Aerial Acoustics, that is the CC3. And then I have 4 subwoofers in this room. One of the reasons I did that is it just helps give you an even bass response throughout the room. I don't have any real hot spots or anything. I had a friend come over and we ran REW, and my bass response is pretty even throughout the room. So I have the 2 smaller Martin Logans. They're all sealed and servo controlled. The smaller ones up here have 3 8-inch drivers in each cabinet at 120 degrees, separating them. And I'll just give you a little quick look at the control panel on one of the front ones. It's kind of cool that they did that so you don't have to reach around back to try and get to the controls. And then I have my MIT shotgun speaker cables that I use. And another thing I want to point out is I bought a lot of this stuff. I didn't pay MSRP for anything in this room. A lot of it was used. Dealer closeouts. Whenever I did buy something that was not used, I always made sure it came with some kind of manufacturer warranty, and I confirmed that before I purchased any of this stuff. It's a 120-inch projection screen. That's just a silver ticket right from Amazon, and I'm very happy with it. I'm much more into the audio side than the video side, but in my opinion, this thing looks really good. And there's the only thing I kind of splurged on a little bit in this room aesthetically was my 2 set absorption panels. I just thought they looked really cool and kind of matched the room. And then I just have the I think these are Oralex got these right off of Amazon. Absorbers behind the speakers and up on the ceiling, because that ceiling over the speakers is kind of low. It's only about maybe a little over 6 foot, 6'4", something like that. And then I'll walk around to the back. Well, while I'm up here, these are just my seats. I have 2 rows of power reclining seats. So there's that. I also have this other display over here if I just want to, if I'm running room correction or just need some info off the Marantz. That way I don't have to turn the big projector on just to see what's going on. I did a pair of side surrounds by each row just to kind of help disperse that a little bit better. I tried to make every seat in here good. Some real good, but no worse than good. So that's the reason why I went with 2 pairs of side surrounds. Those are also Aerial Acoustics. So if you haven't figured out yet, I'm a big fan of Aerial. There's my little riser with my little light job that I did there. Those are just mirrors on the front with a little LED strip above them, and I could change the colors of that. And then my handy dandy SPL meter, of course. Anybody who's really into that, that's a good investment. I always trust my ears in the end, but it's nice to have another tool to make sure I'm hearing what I think I'm hearing. I did very little decoration in this room at all. This is pretty much it, just that little theater sign and that little table with the film reels on it. I think some of the glass encased movie posters can be a little reflective. That's one of the reasons why I didn't go with them. Plus, like I said, this room is very geared towards music anyway. So, and then here's the bigger subs back here. These are the 3 10-inch driver models. This isn't their current model. These were from the generation before the current Martin Logans. I used to have all Definitive Technology speakers, and I still like them. Obviously, if I still have them, I still like them, but for music, I prefer the Aerials. So, you know, I tried putting these up, and just for the size, the weight, to try and ship all this stuff was ridiculous. So I figured, well, why not do a little overkill for the rear channels? So that's what those are. That's the one set of rear channels, and then the other set over here. Again, I know it's overkill, but the funny thing is this isn't a knock on Definitive Technology. These things actually have amplified subwoofers built into them, right into the side of the cabinet. And when I ran Odyssey, which I believe is pretty spot on, it set the crossover at these at 40 Hertz, but my aerials up front that don't have built-in subwoofers, they're just a couple, I believe 6.5-inch bass drivers, it set those to full range. So in this room, according to the room correction, the aerials will actually play lower in frequency response than these will. So anyway, then probably the most, I guess, out of the ordinary thing I did as far as my speaker layout, here's my, as you can see the other set of side speakers, you can see the two of them there. Is how I did my Atmos layout, or height speakers. These are my rear ones. If I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't have put these this far back. When I set this room up, I didn't have anything in place yet. No furniture, nothing. So I was a little bit behind on that. So again, I would have moved them up probably a couple feet towards the front of the room, but you know, it is what it is at this point. And then here's the front ones. So there's the seats, and then there's the front speakers right there. Try and give you some perspective. They're probably 5.5 feet maybe in front of them. So there's those. And then what I did is after the fact, which is a little tricky, I put a middle row in. And here's what I actually pulled the grill covers off so you can see what I did. This one is a rear channel speaker. And you can see one thing I like about these Martin Logans is these are the ML67s. They don't make these anymore, but I'm sure they have something similar, and I'm sure some other companies do too. If you rotate the speaker, you can actually aim it. So this one is aimed towards the front, and it's the left rear channel. I have XLR and RCA outputs on my Marantz, so that's how I was able to do two. You know, off of that same channel, one to the XLR and one to the RCA. And then coming across, there's the other one. This is hooked up to, I'm sorry, that was to the rear right. This one's hooked up to the front left, and it's aiming towards the rear seats. Again, I know that's not ideal, but I thought it worked out pretty well. It took a lot of time to try and balance them output-wise, to try and, again, make every seat in here a good seat. I just love listening to music. I can just sit down here with just the stereo section of this playing, and I don't have to be doing anything. Sometimes I do, I'll admit. Sometimes I'll be, you know, on social media or YouTube or something in the background while I'm listening to this, but more often than not, it's just me and these, and that's it. My projector, this is just an Optima HD 33. I get Oppo and Optima mixed up. It's 1080p 3D. I know I paid under $1,000 for it, and I like this thing. There's, you know, the fancy JVCs and all that out there, and that'd be great to have one of those, but I allocated most of my funds on the audio part of this. So for the bang for the buck, I don't think you can beat this thing, especially with the Derby hooked up to it. I think it looks really good. So that's the gist of what I have down here. Don't plan on updating anything, but you know how that is. I'm just very, very happy with everything down here as far as quality. I'm all about sound quality, and sometimes I you know, get a little crazy and turn turn my volume up kind of high, but I'm 57 and I want to be able to hear into my 80s if if I'm blessed to live that long. So anyway, I guess I'll wrap it up there. Please feel free to leave any questions or comments, good or bad. And I guess I'll wrap. Thank you.